The General Settings section allows you to quickly set universal preferences for every page of your website. Let's take a look at the functionality that you have available to you in General Settings. The first one is website title, and what that refers to, if we look out on the actual website that this admin is controlling and go to the top of the web browser, you'll see here my first website. And so this title will appear on every page that the user navigates on the website. So for instance, if I went down to this first page, how it works, and I look back up here, it's my first website's pipe symbol, how it works. So that's what we're controlling with website title. So to make a change to it, it's simple as either typing something, or in this case I'll just select something, and then I'll go ahead and save that change. Now let's go ahead and look back at our demo site, and I'll refresh the page, and when I do, we'll go up here and see that that's changed to SiteProgress, a website development framework. So it's that simple to make that change. Now, what you put in website title is sort of important because Google and all the other major search engines look at that title as part of how they index your site when setting up search engine optimization. So you want to try to pick a website title that is fairly descriptive of your website, so that'll help the various search engines categorize you properly. The next section is called background color, and as you'll see right now, that's white, which is denoted by the web color symbol of 6 Fs, and that's referring to the area that is outside of the content area. So this area right here where my cursor is right now. So we can change that to any color in the spectrum that we want by simply clicking in this box, and brings up our color wheel, and when we roll into that section it turns into a different cursor picker, and as I click and drag you'll see that the colors change as I move my mouse across the color wheel. Now if I want to pick a darker shade of a color, I can go over here and pull this down, and you'll see that it starts to get darker. So I'm going to pick basically a green color, I think, for this. So let me go over to the green hues, but I want this to be maybe a little bit lighter, so I'll pick something along those lines. And then I'll go ahead and save that change. It's important to note, by the way, that as you work through the admin section, that you save each time you do something in an individual section. That way the work is saved. If you go on and do other things and forget to save, then that work will be lost. Now let's go back up and see the results of our background color selection. I'll go ahead and refresh this page, and now we'll see instead of a white background, we have that green colored background. So that, in this case, helps to define the area of the page a little bit better, and looks fairly good. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next item, which is background image. You also notice that there's a little reference note here saying tiled, and if you want to have a background image instead of a background color, you can easily do that with this function. But it's good to note that you want to not use large images, because the way web browsers work when they have a background image is they tile them, which basically means they repeat them over and over again to fill up the space that they need. So if you use a rather large image, then it's going to be repeating that, and that can slow down the load times of your pages. So you want to use sort of a small graphic for these tiled images. And I have an example to show you. So I'll click in the browse area, and I will go to this little sample image that I have here, and I'll bring that in and just click upload. And now over here in current image, it gives me a little thumbnail showing me that I do have an image uploaded. So let's take a look at what that looks like now on the actual page. I'll go ahead and refresh this. And there you can see that that image has been repeated over and over again, and the net result of the tiling is that it creates a nice pattern for you. Now, you may not have any experience with creating tiled images, but that's okay. If you want to do this kind of a look, you can do a Google search on tiled background images, and it'll come up with literally thousands of them that are available to download for free, and you can come up with the look that you want for your site. Now, you also note that the background color that we have here is still listed, but we can't see it now because of that image. And that's how web pages work. If there's an image loaded as to be the background image, it always takes precedence over a background color. So if you want to go back to that background color, you would have to go over here and delete this image, and then it will default back to the color if it doesn't see an image. Okay, so moving down next is border style, and this allows you to create a border around each of your pages. Sometimes that's a look that you'll want to have if you want to define the edges of your page a little bit more clearly. So let's just go ahead and say we do want to create a border, and this is another use for these color codes. I can take that code and I can copy it and paste it into this window and get the exact same color. So I can take that color and say, well, I want to make the border just a little bit darker, but in that same hue. So that's why I copied and pasted. So I'll pull that down a little bit, and I'll go and say I want a 3 pixel width border, and then I just need to turn off no border and go ahead and hit save. So let's take a look at the results of that. And it's a little bit subtle because I picked a green that's fairly close to the green of the textured background, but you can see there that it creates a border of the pixel width that we defined. So if you want to have a border around each page, it's easy to do with that tool. Now again, sort of like background image, if you go ahead and turn on no border, that will override this information here. So you can leave this information if you want to come back to it, and by just turning no border on, it'll override that and will still provide no border. So I'll just do that and go ahead and save that. Now, default font style is probably what you think it is, which is the ability to change the font face on all of your body copy and text within your website. And so we have several web-friendly fonts that you can choose from. So I'll pick something that's a bit different from the one that's there so you can really see the difference. So we'll take Courier, and I'll go ahead and save that. And now let's go back over to the page and let's scroll down here a little bit to where there's some actual body copy so you can see. And there you go. So there it now changes it to the Courier font. And all of these items up here as well. So I'll go ahead and change it back to a font that I might like better. I'll try a different one like Trebuchet, and then I'll refresh and see what that looks like. And that to me looks a little bit better, so I'll stick with that one. Now I can also define the color of my font. In most cases you're going to want to pick black or some dark shaded color, so it's easy for the viewer to read. So again though, I'll go ahead and play off of this green color scheme that I'm working with. So I'll copy that darker bordered green and I'll paste that in here, and I'll go even darker with it this time, close to black. And then I'll go ahead and save that. And now this will be subtle, but let's take a look at the refresh. And you can tell now that it's got a little bit of a green tint to it, even though it's dark and very readable. So I like that, and we'll keep that. The last thing in general settings is the default link color. And what the default link color does is when you set up a hypertext link, which is basically a bit of text that when you roll over it, it highlights, and the user can click it and go to another page. That rollover highlight color is the default link color. So we can set that up, and let's say since we've got these kind of greens, we want to set something up that's sort of complementary to that. So I'll pick that color, and then I'm going to move over into the kind of more of yellow and something along those lines for a default link, and I'll save that. Now let's go over and refresh our page and take a look. So we know that the menus roll over, so sure enough, when I roll over, there's the highlight with that color. Now also, if you have pages on your website that have the submenu drop-downs like the styles page, when you roll over those submenu pages, the highlight color in the background is that same color as well. So those are the two areas that color has effect on. So those are the general settings. If you have any questions about general settings or anything else to do with SiteProgress, of course, give us an email at support@siteprogress.com.